Welcome back everyone. In our last video we loaded up our digital paintbrush by generating our tile assets. Today we finally get to be level designers. We're going to paint our very first platforming stage, but we'll quickly discover that a painting is just a painting. We're going to demonstrate the use of mathematics and physics to evaluate behavior in an existing game by applying a two-dimensional collision system to our tile map. Let's start painting. Alright, let's look at the top of our tile palette window. We have three main tools we're going to use. The paintbrush, which allows us to paint tiles on. The eraser tool, which allows us to erase them. And then the box tool, which would allow us to drag out a large box of dirt or ground or whatever we're putting into our scene. So, if you haven't already done so, delete the white square we're using for the ground before. To see, I have this this little base ground level here that I've put here from our tiles, because there's something I want to talk about. First, I'm going to drag my tile palette over here just so it'll be closer to work with. And then the next thing I'm going to do is talk about the assets here. So in the last video or two, we had changed this main level build to be, it was 32 originally, okay, but watch what happens when it's at 32. You see how everything is, there's a lot of space in between and everything's kind of just broken apart. So that means this asset pixel is actually drawn for a 16 by 16 grid. So we need to come up here with our, make sure you have, easier to just select them all, and make sure you come over here to make sure everything's set to multiple. Make sure everything is pixels per unit, 16, and just to make life easier, change the filter mode to point for everything, then press apply. As you can see, it changes the spacing of our tiles, and it fills it back up. That being said, we also need to adjust our character. So we can select all of these in the Geno one for right now. We'll select the attack ones and everything later, but we're going to change them also to pixels per unit 16, because that means that our character was also meant to be 16 pixels per unit. You press apply, and then no change to my character because the idle one that we were using, I had already switched it to 16, but I wanted to get that taken care of real quick first so that you guys didn't have the same issues that I noticed. So as you're going about painting out your level, in your tile palette window, you can actually select multiple tiles at once and then move them. You can also kind of move them around, so if you select an area of the grid, right, and you didn't like where the placement was, you can actually move it to a different spot. You can also flip the tiles along the x-axis, which is what I did here. So what I did for this one is I just painted I painted the floor, and then went through each of these double ones just to cover more space at once. And then when I went back, I actually took and reversed it, and I just went and selected them again, but this time I flipped it horizontally along the X, and I did the same thing right there. Now if you notice right here where I didn't do that, there's a little bit of a crack and a break there, but that's fine, it looks alright. We'll go ahead and add a few platforms to it also. So let's what we'll do is we'll just take these two right here, and we'll just add one right there, and we'll flip it again. No, I don't like that. Well, I'll piece it together with that one in a second. We'll put one right there, and we'll make kind of a larger one that's farther away. So I'm going to take this guy, and I'm just going to set that right there, and right there. There we go. And so now we have our palettes all set up just for this test. Alright, let me shrink this tile palette back down and let's press play and see what happens. Oh man, our player's fallen back into that infinite void and behind the floor, so we'll fix both of those. This is because Unity, again, is incredibly literal. Just because the artwork looks like a solid floor doesn't mean that the physics engine knows what the floor is. So to the computer, it's just a hologram. We need to give it a physical hitbox. Alright, go ahead and stop the playback and make sure you click on your floor in the hierarchy. Over in the instructor, we're going to add a couple things. The first is a tile map collider 2D. Alright. With that, you're also going to need a rigid body. So if yours doesn't have a rigid body 2D, make sure you add it. So what this does is it creates all these little collision boxes all the way around each individual square that we've placed. Okay, this is bad for performance. It's also going to cause a bug, or could cause a bug called ghost collisions, which causes the player to get stuck in like little crevices that are created by the collisions around each individual tile being pushed up right next to each other. So the fix to this is if we go to our add component, we're going to add a composite collider 2D. What this is going to do is it's going to allow us to merge all our boxes together. But in order to get it to work, we need to come up here to our tile map collider. If you're using an older version, I think before 2023, it'll say there'll be a box to check that says used by composite. But since 2023, they've changed the operation to composite operation. So you can click on that and just choose merge, and you'll see now all those boxes are gone and it's just one giant floor to walk on. So we press play, and now the whole thing is falling. So why is the whole thing falling? Because in the rigid body inspector it says dynamic and it needs to say static, and now it should stay there. There. So we have that, but we have this issue now there with our character falling behind the floor still because of the collision chip. So let's fix that next. Alright, so I made a few quality of life adjustments in this that I'm going to kind of go over with you. So right now, if you look, right now my player's not struggling to get anywhere. There's a little bounce. He's kind of not on the floor. I can fix that later, but it's not that serious. We look at our ground check, it's still there. I think it's because of how the tiles are built there. So a couple of things. One, I changed our collider from a box collider to a capsule collider. I did this because the box collider was getting stuck and the player was tripping over it and falling and rotating, and that was annoying. So I did that. Second thing, to ensure that he does not trip and rotate and flip over, under rigid body I went down to constraints, opened that up, freeze rotation, and I clicked on the Z box there. That'll keep it from tripping and rotating and just falling around, rolling around across the screen. Also, don't forget to change your floor layer to ground, right? Because we got to tell it what the ground is. When it comes to the actual sprite itself, I made some changes to that. So if you open up the sprite editor, right now yours is going to look something like this. So what I did is I took this circle, which is the point of origin, and I brought it down here by the feet. That way it makes it easier as far as moving the player and rotating where I want and controlling all that through the code or manually through the Unity editor. So once you have those, you press apply. I've already made those changes, so I'm just going to close it out and say discard because I don't want to mess anything up. So now, with all that being said, alright, right now this is our level, It's kind of boring, not a lot to do. So I want to give you guys a quick challenge, and I'd like you guys to use the tile palette and just practice create with it by creating your own full first level. You got a couple different options here of grounds. You have this dark blue one, you have this gray one, you got some different little foliage and stuff you could put in there. Just have fun with it, and let's see what you come up with and create. The next issue that we have is that our camera, like, is stuck in one spot. The next big issue, right? So that's how we're gonna fix this. Is how we're gonna fix that, is in our next video, where we introduce Cinemachine to create a dynamic professional camera that follows the player anywhere they go. Keep learning, keep building. I'll see you in the next one.